I want to talk about one of the big technical developments of the last 10, 15 years. Well, really, we could probably date this to the last 2 decades, um, sort of beginning at the turn of the century and in the late 1990s. And it is the rise of smartphone technology. There's a lot of angles to take with this, so I'm not going to get in necessarily to in-depth looks at things like espionage and so on. They're all valid subjects, and I might mention them in passing. But what I want to talk really is about the social implications of smartphones. Um, we remember those old films from the 70s and 80s where people had big walkie-talkies. Well, not people, usually just police officers and so on. There's a famous cut in ET where it shows a group of officers. I think they replace it from the original, in which they were holding rifles, but had like walkie-talkies. And then in the 90s, it started to develop a little bit more, and really commercial smartphones, I would say, really came in a big way in the early 2000s. Now, this is one thing that I basically missed out on for a long time. And there were a range of reasons I missed out on it. I never had a smartphone. Number one, I never really felt a major personal desire or need to have one. That's point one. Point two was monetary. Um, sort of mobile phones that were around before cell phones, if to my American viewers, were a lot cheaper than the sort of smartphone products that were being produced and are being produced. I mean, to me, the idea of a phone that is worth $4,000 or the equivalent of $4,000, i.e., the same as either a cheap car or more than a second-hand car, to me is astonishing. Basically, I find I sort of had this internal hostility to the whole thing about smartphones. Not because I'm a Luddite, not because I'm anti-technology, I'm not. But I felt it was sort of it was like a fashion statement. Um, and this is particularly noticeable in, well, I guess it's noticeable everywhere, but when I was in China working there twice, on both occasions I had situations where even some of my own students would say, "Teacher, why is your phone so small?" And my feelings about that were somewhere between bemusement and slight irritation. And I think I actually spoke to them about materialism and the whole idea of materialism. China may be a communist country, but it's also a very materialistic society. And I'm not saying that as a swipe at the Chinese, because we're also a materialistic society. The whole world's materialistic. But it is noticeable in that part of the world that there's this kind of trend of just wanting to get the latest Galaxy model or the latest Apple or whatever it may be, the latest Huawei. Um, I'm going to show you my phone. And this isn't giving away any security. I'm not giving out my number or anything like that. This is my phone. It's a LG. Got it on eBay, second hand. It's pretty basic. Don't know if you can see that. It's got a camera device in it. It can do phone calls. It can do text messages. Um, there are some games on it, but they're in another language. It has a camera device which it didn't have before. It has a map which it didn't have before. I used to have a mobile phone which was literally just text messages and phone calls. So this is advanced by my standards, but it's very basic compared to what most people have. Most people have these phones where you can record videos, you can look up the internet if you've got the Wi-Fi. But there's another thing that really I dislike about the whole smartphone industry. And I'll be honest, I have a slight unease about this. It's the whole thing about getting into contracts. You pay so much money and then you get so many free minutes per month. But I have a slight phobia about it because I think you can only do that if you have financial stability. I'm not that financially stable. Without going into deeper details, I just can't afford it. But what I detest about the whole smartphone thing is it's like a popularity contest. Like people are almost pressured to have the latest model. I mean, when I show people my phone, I'm doing it for the purpose of this video, but they they almost act like they're bemused that it's so basic. And I don't want to give the wrong impression here. I'm not suggesting that people are giving me a hard time necessarily, but I do think there is this tendency, particularly when it comes to materialism, and you can see this in other formats as well. Everyone wants the best. Everyone wants the latest model just to show that they're sort of in touch or cool or trendy. It's something I really dislike. To me, a phone is about communication. It's about making phone calls, when you need to. I appreciate that the latest phones will have a lot more devices than this. Probably if I had one, I'd be fully taking advantage of it. So I don't want to be a hypocrite. I understand that technology has many benefits. I get that. But I've just never wanted to get into a situation where I sign up to some contract and I find out that they start sending threatening letters that um I haven't paid the right money or something. My younger sister had this problem from Vodafone, where they actually messed it up and they kept sending her threatening letters, saying that she hadn't paid her contract and they were threatening legal action and so on. So I think there's underhand ways that these companies behave. When you phone up the number to try and check how much credit you have, about 30 seconds of it is just their propaganda. Like, you can now do this. This is how wonderful we are. I think just get to the point. I just want to hear what I want to hear. So basically, I don't really trust any telecoms company. I think they are all basically. I'm quite cynical about it, to be completely honest. Um, and I just dislike the way that it's become like a fashion accessory. It's become a sort of thing like if you don't have it, there's something wrong with you. Now, when I was in China the second time around, I admit it did cause some problems because people in my orientation group were saying like, "Oh, Nathan, you're not going to survive out here without a good smartphone." Well, I actually did, but I did get a little bit annoyed with the sort of attitude of Um, oh, is that your phone? Are you going to use that? There was one young American woman in the group who was so patronizing, even though she was a good 15 years younger than me. It really bugged me. I remember I was sorting out my contract with one staff member because obviously the people in the shop could only speak Chinese. I speak limited Chinese, so the staff member was helping us out with that. And this young American woman actually came up, dude, is that your phone? Is that really your phone? And just going on like that. And I didn't say anything to her at the time. I didn't really want to make a scene. But it's demonstrative of the sort of materialism I'm talking about. And you get it all over the world. I'm not suggesting it's unique to any one culture. But it's just very annoying. Um, if I had the money, I'd probably get a slightly better phone that had more capabilities. And I don't like the fact when I get a top up, my cash gets eaten up very fast. I'll put £5 on this. If I make an outbound call, that's 150 used up already. So probably it would be more practical to get like a monthly contract or something. But then I get into the business of, well, now I'm in a contract, it's like a legal agreement. And if I'm not in a position of financial stability, so how can I pay that? And yes, there's other forms of communication. I mean, I've been trying to phone into LBC, and it might sound like I'm ranting here, but it's very annoying. I've told those guys, the staff at LBC, that I can't afford to hold the line. They don't listen. It might sound like I'm just being sour grapes, but they say they'll go phone back, they never do, or at least they haven't recently, which is just irritating. And it got me thinking, well, it's just this assumption that everyone can afford to make outbound calls. I hate that assumption that people make that, oh well, people can just afford it. Um, no, I would suggest a big radio station like LBC can afford to call people back if they I've listened to what they want to contribute to the particular program, and they say, "Yeah, we'll have you on." It's, but I must admit, it's something that I kind of feel a bit of a social leper on. I've met a few other people. There's an older guy on my street. He's in his early 70s. He just doesn't use phones whatsoever, and I kind of admire that. I kind of respect that. I mean, don't get me wrong. I recognize that smartphone technology is very useful. If you want to contact someone, because that's the other thing, it puts us into these social dynamics. Like, I've had a situation of trying to contact people and they just ostensibly never ever answer the phone. And I'm thinking, well, what's the point of having it? So I've kind of been on the other side of being annoyed with that. Or look at this situation, when you go to a party before the lockdown, they have to keep putting that caveat. And like half the guests are on their phone. It's just very sad. It's a very sad situation. So I recognize that smartphone technology has many uses. It keeps people in touch, but I dislike the kind of forced social conformity of it. I dislike the costs of it because the contracts may be cheaper, but there might be loopholes there. So I have always done pay as you go. I find it more secure that way, but I need to get some sort of better method. And I just find that I just dislike the reliance on them. And I'm part of it, I rely on this. But sometimes I'll message people online on Facebook because I just don't have enough credit. So I want to know from viewers, it's kind of an open question. What's your experience with smartphone technology? Have you found that you're really, really adept to it? That it's made your life more comfortable? Have you found it's had an impact, a negative or positive impact on your social life? Um, and do you agree or disagree with me that it is actually can be a social barrier because people get so hung up on checking their messages and playing their games and stuff that they're just oblivious to society around them. I don't like that. Um, so for all those reasons, I'm a bit cynical about smartphones in general. I just find that it's kind of this form of technology that's just imposed on people. Like, you must buy this, you must accept this, and if you don't, you're some sort of social leper or you're a Luddite, which, if you don't know, is a British expression meaning someone who's anti-technology. The thing is, I'm not anti-technology. I use a lot of technology, but goodness knows sometimes it drives me crazy. And I think other people are sometimes part of the problem when they fail to understand that not everyone has the same means. Not everyone can afford, so many free minutes. So that can be immensely frustrating sometimes. Let me know your thoughts.